So the first thing that I want to say is I'm glad that this film was made and I can't wait to talk about it. My name is Brandon Keith Avery, and this is just my opinion. Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Just My Opinion for my movie review for American Skin. And if this happens to be the first time you're finding me and you happen to like the video, please give me that thumbs up and consider subscribing. Woo. Given the current climate that we're in right now, this film could not be released at a better time. I have so much to say, and I'm sure that you do too. Now, this film is being written and directed by Mr. Nate Parker, who was also a part of The Great Debaters with Denzel Washington, Red Tails, and also The Birth of a Nation, which was a great film that was released in 2016. And guys, my anticipation for this film was through the roof. This was my most anticipated film of 2021. I mean, the last time I was this excited about seeing a movie was Marvel's Black Panther that came out in 2018, Avengers Infinity War, or possibly Avengers Endgame. And I think I was even more excited to see this film. And when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I was all over the place with so much excitement, passion, anger, frustration. I mean, there were a number of emotions that ran through my body. We are watching that again. Woo! Woo! Oh man, my heart is beating fast. But before we get into all the nitty gritty, let's go into what this story is about. A Marine veteran working as a school janitor tries to mend his relationship with his son after a divorce. When his son is killed by a police officer found innocent without standing trial, he takes matters into his own hands. Now, this is not the first time we've seen a black male just frustrated with the system and trying to take things into their own hands. We saw this with Samuel L. Jackson with The Negotiator and also Denzel Washington with John Q. I sometimes don't like to compare films to others because there's just so many components that goes into the filmmaking process, but I couldn't help thinking about that while I was watching this movie. So the first thing that I really liked about this film was the entire cast and all of their performances. Everyone did an outstanding, stellar job. I could relate to pretty much everyone to some degree, and you can really feel the level of tiredness that they all are going through and that we also go through in the real world of how we're continuously getting cases of police brutality and justice not being served to black people. You know, just starting off with one of the main characters, Lincoln Link Jefferson. I thought his role was great. He actually played two characters in the film, to me, in my opinion, pre his son's death and post his son's death. And you can really tell the difference between the both of them. Pre his son's death, I mean, he was a passionate man just trying to be the best dad, the best father that he could be, just trying to be there for his son, just a shining example of a great relationship that a father and son could have. And just, you know, wanting them to steer him in the right direction so that he's not caught up in anything that would meet his demise. Unfortunately, that did happen, but I did enjoy the performance. Seeing all of his facial expressions and mannerisms of frustration when he does not really know what to do, just kind of going off of fumes of emotions, is something that I can relate to. And it actually had me smiling ear to ear during some of the scenes in this movie where he had all the power, where he had all the control. And then we have Omar Dearwood Scott being played by Amari Hardwick. I mean, he didn't say much, but when he did speak, it had some substance to it. I love this character as well. He was just, in my opinion, like a ride or die type of brother. Like, okay, this is what we're doing. Cool. I'm down. Just tell me what time and where I got to show up, and I'm there. And I can respect something like that. And then we have Bernice being played by Vanessa Bell Calloway, who is a great actress. And I just wish that she had more work. You know, her role in this film was brief, but it did stand out. If you guys don't remember her, she was in the Coming to America in 1998 and also What's Love Got to Do with It with Angela Bassett. I mean, she was the grandmother of the lost soul in this movie. And like I said, her role was brief, but when she was on screen, I love what she had to deliver. You know, and then we have Kajani Jefferson. And the thing about it is, in this movie and just society, reality, you know, the picture that I have up right now is just no matter what we do, no matter what we look like, no matter if we have our pants up or pulled down, you know, if we have a degree or not, you know, no matter what, we're always going to be seen as a threat. And that's the case in this movie. And when we're introduced to Kajani Jefferson, I mean, you like him immediately. I mean, it's pretty much impossible not to like this guy. And I got to give it to Nate. He did a great job with us just being able to attach ourselves to this character and just being able to sympathize and empathize with him. I felt like I knew this guy. I mean, I do. I know some people like him. And there's maybe a decision or two that may frustrate you here and there, but that's just life and reality, but still doesn't warrant his death that we do see, in this film. But out of all the characters, my favorite is Jordan King, being played by Sean Paul McGee. He is the one that's telling the story. We get to know what's going on through his lens, through his vision. And I think that's one of the best parts of this film, in my opinion. I like him a lot. He was coming in as a film journalist, just wanting to get a true account of what happened with the death of Kajani, and is interviewing Nate Parker's character, Link. And what I really liked about him is that you can tell that he was kind of coming from the outside, understands the Black American struggle, but doesn't understand it to its full degree, but wants to be an ally and help out the best that he can. And I even think that's true in real life, because I mean, he was born in America, but he does have Jamaican parents. And just in real life, I know a lot of Black people like that, a lot of Black foreigners, a lot of Black immigrants, not all of them they know that Black Americans, because this is a Black American story, are basically being treated like crap. They may not understand and fully comprehend the entire history, but they know that there's a bunch of BS going on, and they're very inquisitive and just trying to find out and put the pieces together and just be an ally and find out what's going on. That is exactly what Jordan King's character was in this movie, and I loved it. I mean, it was flawless. Even there was a line of dialogue that he delivered at the end that he just knocked it out of the park and just summed up all of my feelings and emotions in just a brief 30 to 45 second scene. So I just got to give it to Nate Parker there as well for telling the story through his lens, because not too many people would have done that. There have been a ton of other directors would have just did this a completely different way, but given the source material of this story right here, which is fiction, I think he knocked that out of the park. Something else that I really did enjoy about this film was the music and/or score, which was done by Henry Jackson. When I looked it up, he's the same man that did The Birth of a Nation, that was put together by Nate Parker as well. There was a great use of violin and strings in this film, which really did set the mood, set the tone, set the pace, and just kind of set your mind exactly where it needed to be to fully enjoy this film. I don't know if you've seen that movie, If Beale Street Could Talk, that came out in 2018. That had a stellar score as well, and I kind of got those vibes when I was watching this too. It's two different people that did both of those films, but it did remind me of that film, and that's another great one if you do want to check that out as well. Now, something else that I want to talk about that I really enjoyed was the editing. The first thing is this film trims out all of the fat. I mean, all of it. I mean, it's barely 90 minutes. I think 87 minutes to be exact. And Nate Parker knew exactly what to show you and what not to show you. And there's a trope that I love when filmmakers do, is show and don't tell. And I think Nate Parker did an outstanding job with that. But at the same time, I do have to put a pin in the editing department, and I will come back to it later. Just speaking about the editing, I love the camera work in this film. I mean, you had the lens of Jordan King being brought in so that a younger audience can be a part of this conversation. I love his use of the documentary style trying to film this event. You also had body cams from cops, security footage, and also just traditional filmmaking. But all that put together and fused together, edited very nice, really did set the tone, really did set the scope, and really was able to pull you in so you can have the best experience while you're watching this movie. However, I will say, and this is not a knock or in my parts of the movie that I did not like, and we will get to that, but you can tell that there was not much money being thrown into this production. Now, when I'm saying that, I'm not saying that the production looked cheap or that it was crappy or anything like that. I could just tell that, he was limited when he tried to make this film. And I believe Nate Parker said that in one of his interviews when he was, making his rounds with Spike Lee over a year ago when this premiered at the Venice Film Festival. But it's not a horrible set. It's not a horrible production. It's not, a horrible set design or anything like that. I mean, I not only pay attention to what's on screen, but what happens behind the camera, just as a fan. And I could tell that, he was limited, with his budget. So I just can only imagine what he would have been able to accomplish if he had more funds, if he had more resources. But let's just go ahead and get to the story or the plot of this film. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, seriously. You don't often see, other than, like I was saying, the negotiator or John Q, where a black male father is just tired of this system of racism, white supremacy, and just wants to take matters into his own hands. And I love that. That is the main thing that I wanted to see in this film. And the way he did it was nearly flawless. And we'll talk about some things that I didn't care for in just a moment. But the things that I did like, I liked a lot. I loved. There was a great level of tension. There was a great level of build up during the first act. Just, getting to know the entire environment, the entire family, who Lincoln Jefferson was, and just how he saw society and how society saw himself and black people as a whole. There's just so much that I want to talk about just with other types of black people in this film as well, like a certain police chief and just a certain other characters who may come across as like a sellout, a Sambo, or a coon. And it's going to open up tons of discussions, not just in the black community, but other communities as well. You felt the pain, you felt the passion, you felt the emotion from everybody, the mother, the father, the grandmother, the cousins, the news media, society, everybody, the cops, you felt the frustration from everybody. And just kind of seeing a courtroom drama in a police station to where the inmates, the nonviolent inmates, or the jury, the mourning father is pretty much the judge, jury, executioner, in a sense, and seeing these helpless cops over here with no power whatsoever. I mean, they just have to bend to our will. I can't lie. I was smiling while I was watching it, just like I'm smiling right now. It was a nice sight to see. I have to be honest. And, it just goes to show in like real life, not all cops are bad. I'm not one of those things that 100% of cops are all evil. But growing up, I always thought that even when I was a little boy, a little child, it was just instilled in me. I just felt that at least 33% of all cops are bad. But now in today's climate that we're in, that's raised to about 50%, especially, with some recent events that happen in, our country. But when we have these white supremacist cops in real life, just going out of their way to be evil and try to maintain dominance over black people. But in this movie, American Skin, it's a complete 180-degree turn. Man, hold up. Like, seriously, right there, I just have to applaud the film and Nate right there, because that's just high quality entertainment, just this fantasy that I'm able to escape in, for like, 80, 90 minutes. Now, I do want to get to some of the things that I really just didn't care for, that I did not like in the film. And earlier when I was talking about putting a pin in it, talking about the editing, let me go ahead and pull that pin out and just start talking about that right now. When I said that Nate Parker trimmed out all the fat, I actually think that he trimmed off a bit too much, some of the good stuff, some of the substance, okay? Because when we were transitioning from this first and second act, there was a jump in the time to where I was like, oh, we're here now. Like, no, what are you doing? Why did you skip forward in time like that? I wanted to see what happened between this point of time right here. Instead of going from A to B, you went from A to C. And that was very, very frustrating and kind of just really punched me in the gut and knocked the wind out of me. I mean, the part that they cut out of this movie that I wanted to see was one of the things that I was looking forward to the most, and it's also one of the reasons why I love the negotiator and John Q, because those men are taking things into their own hands. And when I'm not going to spoil anything for you here, but when you see the film, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. And that was very, very frustrating. I have to be honest. When the film did end, I was just a little bit disappointed with that aspect right there. Just like, my goodness gracious, I did want to see that. And I feel, Nate, that you took it away from me. It's okay. It's okay. It will be okay. But I will talk about that aspect a little later on in the week when I post my spoiler review for this film. Another thing that I just really didn't care for was part of the second act where it came to the courtroom scene in the police station. I feel that some of the characters' lines of dialogue was too familiar, and that we've heard this before over and over and over again. And, you know, in the Black community, everybody is at a different level of consciousness and or awareness. So I have to be fair. And I'm not sitting here trying to say that I'm an expert in racism and I know all the ins and outs and everything like that. I'm not saying that at all. But I understand where Nate is coming from and trying to tell this story, because he has to appeal to everybody. OK, he can't just appeal to one group. And when I say one group, I mean one group in the Black community. I'm not expecting everybody, all these other groups, the dominant society, to take anything away from this film. I mean, some people are talking about boycotting and stuff like that. And I don't care. I mean, you know, if any other groups wants to appreciate this film, they can. But, you know, for me, in my opinion, and I'm not saying that this is right, you know, this was made for us, more of a venting session in a sense. And there are, like I was saying, different levels of awareness in our community. Everybody does not know the same. Everybody is not on the same level. But, you know, there was just a big explainer segment in this that just, I want to say, yeah, soft shoeing, you know, in a sense. And, you know, that kind of did rub me the wrong way. And then when we get to the real meat and potatoes, and that's the ending of this film. When I was watching this, I honestly just did not know how it was going to end. I was just saying to myself, how can we get a realistic ending and still be satisfying at the same time? And at the time of me recording this video, I've seen the film twice. The first time I saw the film, when it ended, I was just like, okay. And it kind of brought me down just a little bit. But I was saying to myself, well, I mean, how else could they have ended this film? You know, I just don't know. The second time I saw it, I was able to accept it more. But I'm still very conflicted. One of the reasons why is I can't help to think that Nate Parker was trying to send some type of underlying message of theme to the world that Black people are not animals. And me personally, I'm past that. I could be wrong, but that's just the way that I interpret it, that I did comprehend it. But at the same time, and the reason why I say I'm conflicted, because I feel that Nate knew that from certain lines of dialogue in the film. Because what I was thinking, characters were saying in the movie. So I know that he's aware of it, or he wouldn't have put those lines of dialogue in there. So I just don't know how I feel about the ending still after seeing it 2 times. I mean, I'm going to see it again. I was able to see it early. That's why I'm talking to you now, but I'm still going to pay for it. And if you want to see the film, you can do so at www.americanskinfilm.com. Again, that is www.americanskinfilm.com. But going back to the courtroom scene in the second act that was being held in the police station, it was very, very entertaining. It was very, very engaging. I love the amount of tension that was floating through the air. Seeing Black men being in control, complete control over these racist, white supremacist demons, making tons of excuses, trying to explain away their actions, had me smiling from ear to ear. I mean, like I was saying earlier, this is going to open up a number of discussions across the board, and I can't wait to have it. Even though it wasn't executed perfectly, I still did appreciate it. In real life, in society, one thing that I'm not trying to do anymore, at least, but we never see, is the white racists, the white supremacists owning up to their mess ups, to their fuck ups. And we were able to see that in this film. And, you know, it was great. They were completely vulnerable, not knowing what was going to happen to them. And they were able to feel what we felt. And that felt good. It did. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's just crazy, the hypocrisy that just goes on in this country of how they just lie through their teeth, saying that they're afraid for their lives, but they are able to show restraints with people with skin opposite of mine. I mean, there are so many times where Black people, innocent Black people that had no threats leveled to them at all, but are still executed like dogs, and it's sickening. And to see them emote in this movie discussing that is high quality entertainment. I mean, after seeing this movie, I never ever want to see or hear that excuse again, because it just makes no sense. It doesn't add up. It's against logic. You've seen the trailer. You know Kajani Jefferson wasn't a threat. He just had a cell phone, but he was still executed and shot down as if he was nothing. But we see countless videos online in real life are white people attacking cops all the time, punching them, spitting at them, kicking them, trying to stab them, pointing a gun at them, stealing cop cars, storming the United States Capitol, and these white cops are still able to show restraints. But when it comes to black people, oh, I was afraid for my life. I didn't know what to do. I just want to go home and see my kids, yada, yada, yada. I mean, I don't want to hear it anymore. And that's why I was saying at the very beginning of this review that this film could not have been released at a better time. Because last week we had these racist white supremacists literally storming the council with guns and zip ties and pitchforks and nooses talking about hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence. And the cops were able to show restraint. So their excuse is just, it doesn't matter anymore. It's just non-existent. This Blue Lives Matter crap is bullshit. And we've been knowing that from the beginning. And now it is exposed and they can no longer hang on to that narrative. Because like I was saying, it just goes against logic. It just does. I mean, if you can show restraint to white people showing up to the Capitol with nooses saying, hang Mike Pence, and then be escorted out, but not show the same restraint to black people that are unarmed, I mean, you're evil. And this film exposed some of that, even though it was not perfect. But I am still conflicted with the ending. And I still feel that Nate was trying to cater to some audiences, and that kind of did rub me the wrong way. To where I still have to think about this film. Because I don't know. I mean, if I had to rate American Skin out of 1 out of 10, I still don't know what I would give it. I will give a rating when I do my spoiler review with Brother Malcolm. Some of y'all know who he is, which will be released later on this week. But overall, I did enjoy the film, and I know a lot of you are going into this thinking like, oh man, we taking everything back, Malcolm X, yada, yada, yada. If you just want to enjoy this film, I will just say this, lower your expectations, okay? Lower your expectations. If you lower your expectations, I really feel that you will enjoy yourself. My expectations were high, and I still did enjoy myself. But, this is not the perfect 10 out of a 10 that I wanted. But I do appreciate it. I still do appreciate the film, and I do respect the film, and I still did enjoy the film, okay? Just because, if you go into a film wanting it to be a perfect 10 out of a 10, if it's an 8 out of a 10 or a 7 out of a 10, that's still a good time. That's still a good film. You can still enjoy yourself. And that's just kind of how I feel right now. It took me forever trying to take notes for this movie right here. And, I'm still kind of all over the place and feel like this is kind of choppy. But, I mean, that's just how I feel about it. So, again, Spike Lee, thank you for your involvement in this film. Nate Parker, I appreciate what you're doing, my brother. I really do. I love and respect your man. And, guys, just please support this film. Please support this film. Please support this film. But guys, that is just my opinion, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy the video, please go ahead and give me that thumbs up, and also subscribe to the channel and help me reach 30,000 subscribers. And please share this video with all of your friends and family all over the place. And again, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And before you go, don't forget that my name is Brandon Keith Avery, and that's just my opinion. Peace.